sit down to watch a traditional sport, like maybe a playoff basketball game or the World Cup final, there's always a scoreboard.
Right, yeah.
And that scoreboard is basically absolute law. The narrative, the drama, all the heroes and villains of the night, they're all entirely dictated by who physically puts the ball in the net.
Exactly.
The drama is, I mean, it's essentially math.
Which is such an important distinction, I think,
Yeah.
because in a legitimate athletic competition, the dramatic arc is really just an accidental byproduct of that math.
Right.
Like a buzzer beater is thrilling to watch because the physical clock literally ran out.
Yeah.
Not because a room full of writers sat down, analyzed audience metrics, and decided, hey, it would be the most emotionally resonant moment for the home team to score right now.
Yeah, that makes total sense. But then, you flip the channel over to professional wrestling and that scoreboard just completely vanishes.
Poof, gone.
Right. The math is completely fabricated. So the drama isn't a byproduct anymore. The drama is, well, it's the entire product.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that distinction is exactly what makes the career of someone like CM Punk so endlessly fascinating to study. Welcome to the deep dive, everyone. We are looking at a newly published article from The Sportster. This actually just came out on July 7, 2026. And it attempts to rank all 8 of Punk's WWE World Championship wins by quality.
It's a great list, too.
It really is. But we're doing something a little different today. We're pairing that ranking with this massive Wikipedia glossary of professional wrestling terminology.
Yeah, the insider jargon.
Exactly. Our mission here is to decode the actual psychological mechanics behind these matches for you. We want to show you exactly how a scripted athletic performance manipulates like an arena of 20,000 people into absolutely losing their mind.
It's pure psychology.
It really is. Okay, let's unpack this. Starting with what happens when the writers play it entirely too safe.
Oh, yeah. Playing it safe is often the death knell for a wrestling storyline.
Really? Just being safe.
Yeah, I mean, if we look at the late stage of Punk's career, specifically around 2025, he had 2 major championship wins that the Sportster highlights as just being fundamentally flawed. And this is despite them being perfectly fine athletic performances.
We're talking about the 8th and 7th ranked wins, right?
Yeah, exactly. So the 8th was Punk's victory over Jey Uso at Saturday Night's Main Event in 2025 for his second new World Heavyweight Championship. And then the 7th was dethroning Gunther at SummerSlam 2025 for his first new WHC.
Right. I was looking at the breakdown of that Jey Uso match. The athleticism was definitely there, the crowd was loud enough, but the visceral impact of the victory felt incredibly hollow. Like the celebration just sort of came and went.
And that hollowness, it comes down to a concept the industry calls an angle.
An angle, yeah.
An angle is the fictional storyline that provides the context for why 2 people are fighting. It's the build-up, the weeks of trash talk, the escalating physical altercations.
The meat of the story, basically.
Right. And the problem with those 2025 matches is that the angle was overwhelmingly predictable. The writers telegraphed Punk's victories months in advance, and when an angle is that heavily forecasted, it just completely suffocates the pop.
Okay, actually, explain the mechanics of a pop for us, because reading through this glossary, it seems to be the main currency of this entire industry.
Oh, it absolutely is. A pop is that sudden, involuntary explosion of cheering from the crowd.
Like when the glass shatters for Stone Cold.
Yes. Perfect example. It's a physiological response to a surprise or a massive payoff. Wrestling relies on the pop as its primary metric of success. If the audience knows exactly what's going to happen on a Tuesday, well, by the time the match actually takes place on Sunday, the tension is entirely evaporated.
Right, because they've had time to process it.
Exactly. That spontaneous explosion of joy is just muted because they've already emotionally processed the victory days ago.
Wait, but if the WWE writers knew the fans wanted Punk to win that Gunther match, why would they intentionally ruin his celebration? Because right after Punk won, Seth Rollins immediately ran down, cashed in a guaranteed title contract, and just stole the belt.
Yeah, that was brutal.
Are they just punishing their own audience at that point?
They are, yeah, but for a very specific psychological reason. They realized the predictable win wasn't going to generate a massive pop, so they pivoted to generating heat.
Heat. The opposite of a pop.
Exactly. Heat is the inverse of a pop. It's the negative crowd reaction, the visceral booing, the genuine anger. By having Rollins steal the title while Punk was literally still holding it up, the writers shifted the emotional focus entirely.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they sacrificed Punk's predictable moment to basically weaponize the crowd's disappointment, transferring all of that into hatred for Seth Rollins.
You know, it feels exactly like sitting through a paint-by-numbers superhero movie.
How so?
Like, you sit in the theater for 2 hours, you watch a completely predictable climax where the good guy beats the bad guy exactly how the trailer promised he would.
Right, right.
And then the entire emotional weight of the film is instantly overshadowed by a 30-second post-credits scene meant to set up the next movie.
That is a brilliant way to frame it.
You don't even remember the hero's victory, you just remember the tease for the sequel.
Yeah, the championship win was reduced to a footnote in someone else's story. But this naturally transitions us to the opposite scenario, right? If predictability completely kills the emotional weight of a moment, what is the psychological effect when the writers completely pull the rug out from under the audience without warning?
You get pure shock value, which seems to be exactly what happened way back in 2008 with the 6th-ranked win.
The Edge cash-in.
Yeah. Punk cashed in his own Money in the Bank contract on Edge to win his very first Old World Heavyweight Championship. And Edge was already beaten half to death after being attacked by Batista.
Right, he was totally vulnerable.
Punk just swooped in and took the belt in seconds. It was a massive ambush. Yet, the Sportster ranking puts this moment surprisingly low on his career highlights. If shock is so valuable, why didn't this resonate more?
Well, what's interesting here is how corporate hierarchy dictates emotional investment. At that time, in 2008, Punk was what the industry terms a mid-carder.
A mid-carder?
Yeah, think of a mid-carder like middle management in a corporation.
Yeah. Okay.
They're clearly above the entry-level rookies. They have steady TV time, but the audience does not view them as the CEO. They aren't the marquee draw.
So the shock of him winning the top prize was real, but the emotional investment wasn't there yet. Like, the audience was stunned, but they hadn't mentally prepared themselves to accept middle management suddenly taking over the entire company.
Exactly. The rug pull was effective, but slightly premature for maximum emotional impact. But, if we jump forward just 1 year to 2009, we see that exact same ambush strategy executed with devastating psychological precision.
Oh, the Jeff Hardy saga. It is wild to read about this. This covers the 5th and 4th ranked wins. So the 5th was this grueling, beautifully violent tables, ladders, and chairs match at SummerSlam against Hardy, which Punk won.
An absolute classic match.
But it suffered from that superhero post-credits problem again. The Undertaker magically appeared and attacked Punk immediately afterward, just stealing the spotlight.
Right. The TLC match was a physical spectacle. But the true psychological masterpiece actually happened a few months prior to that, at the Extreme Rules event. That's the 4th-ranked win.
Right. So Jeff Hardy had just survived this brutal ladder match against someone else. He's bleeding, he's exhausted, he can barely stand up. He finally wins the belt. It's this massive, cathartic, feel-good moment.
The crowd is literally in tears.
And then Punk's music hits. He marches down to the ring, cashes in his guaranteed title shot on a broken man who can't even defend himself, and steals the championship.
It's ruthless. And to understand the brilliance of this sequence, we really have to look at the foundational dynamic of wrestling storytelling. The face and the heel.
Okay, lay that out for us.
A face, which is short for babyface, is the heroic protagonist. They fight fair, they overcome adversity, they are engineered to be cheered. Jeff Hardy in 2009 was one of the most beloved faces of his generation.
And the heel.
A heel is the antagonist, the villain who cheats and cowers.
See, I struggle to see how that's a good career move for Punk, though. So what does this all mean? Is a cheap win, where you essentially steal the belt from a broken opponent, actually better for a wrestler's long-term career than a fair fight, simply because it generates better heat?
It's completely counterintuitive, I know, but being hated is arguably more valuable than being loved in this business. The mechanism at play here is called a double turn.
A double turn.
Yeah, it's an incredibly rare, delicate maneuver where the protagonist and the antagonist completely swap roles during a single narrative sequence. By cashing in on a broken Jeff Hardy, the writers weaponize the audience's deep empathy.
Oh, because they felt so bad for Hardy.
Exactly. The fans had just spent 20 minutes feeling Hardy's physical pain during the ladder match. When Punk swooped in, all of that empathy for Hardy instantly converted into a toxic, venomous hatred for Punk.
He hijacked their catharsis.
You really did. And that heat is pure currency. If you have genuine white-hot heat, you become incredibly valuable to the promotion because fans will pay any amount of money to buy a ticket just to see someone eventually beat you up.
That makes a lot of sense.
It builds a complex, layered character.
Yeah.
You aren't just a generic bad guy. You're the opportunist who crushed their hero's dreams when the hero was at his absolute most vulnerable.
But there has to be a ceiling to that strategy, right? Like a villain who constantly runs away and relies on cheap ambushes is eventually just going to be seen as weak.
Hmm.
If you want to be the permanent face of a billion-dollar company, you can't just be the sneaky guy forever.
You've hit the nail on the head. Sneaky heel tactics are an incredible elevator to get you up the ranks,
Mm.
but you cannot stay at the penthouse without undeniable proof that you can actually fight. The audience eventually demands validation.
Which perfectly explains why a fundamentally simple, rules-abiding match ranks so incredibly high on Punk's career list. This is the third-ranked win.
Yes.
So, late 2011, the WWE title picture is an absolute chaotic mess of interference and terrible storylines. It all culminates at Survivor Series inside Madison Square Garden, where Punk wrestles Alberto Del Rio, and he's even announced by the legendary Howard Finkel.
Madison Square Garden is the mecca of professional wrestling, of course.
Yeah.
But the venue is actually secondary to the mechanism of the victory itself. This match utilized a clean finish.
Clean finish.
Right. A clean finish is a bout that concludes without any cheating, without low blows, without the referee being knocked unconscious, and with zero outside interference.
Mhm.
Just two athletes, and one definitively beats the other.
Like the ultimate palate cleanser after years of sneaking around.
Precisely. And a clean finish on a massive stage like Madison Square Garden officially mints a wrestler as a main eventer.
Okay, so that's a specific tier.
It's the highest tier in the industry hierarchy. The audience will only accept you as a true main eventer, the franchise player, if they fundamentally believe you possess the skills to win a fair fight against the best in the world.
So the clean finish proves competence. But competence alone doesn't create magic, right? You need the crowd to actively elevate that competence into something mythical. And we literally just saw this happen on July 6, 2026.
The second-ranked win.
Exactly. Punk defeats Sami Zayn to win the championship again, but he does it in front of a thunderous Chicago crowd.
And Chicago is Punk's hometown. The psychological dynamic of a hometown wrestling crowd is a phenomenon entirely unique to this industry.
It reminds me of home field advantage in traditional sports, like a football team playing in a domed stadium. The crowd noise gets so deafening that it disrupts the opposing quarterback's ability to call plays. It's a tangible advantage.
Right.
But in wrestling, it feels vastly amplified. In a real sport, a loud crowd still can't magically put points on the board. But in wrestling, the crowd's reaction isn't just an advantage. The reaction is the actual product being sold.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, the term we use here is being over.
Over.
When a performer is truly over, it means they have tapped into the collective consciousness of the audience. The crowd isn't just watching a performance, they're emotionally vibrating on the exact same frequency as the wrestler.
And reading the accounts of that 2026 Chicago match, that crowd was deeply, obsessively over for Punk.
They were, and that is why a simple athletic exhibition transcends into an all-time classic. The thousands of people in that arena weren't passive consumers. They were actively participating in the creation of the drama.
Yeah.
Every punch, every kick, every near miss is magnified 100 times over because the audience's sheer force of will demands that the moment feel important.
It's an incredible synergy. But, you know, as spectacular as a clean hometown win is, there is still one lingering limitation. The audience is still willingly suspending their disbelief. Even when they're screaming their lungs out, somewhere in the back of their minds, they know they are watching a highly choreographed play. Which brings us to the #1 title win on this list. It achieved something so incredibly rare in modern media. It actually made 20,000 cynical fans question reality.
This is the absolute holy grail of professional wrestling storytelling.
We're talking about Money in the Bank 2011 against the ultimate corporate hero, John Cena. Once again, it's in Chicago. But the real-world context hanging over this match was unprecedented. Punk's actual legally binding corporate contract with WWE was legitimately expiring at midnight that exact evening.
It's unbelievable tension.
He was publicly threatening to leave the company. He wrestles Cena. He wins the WWE Championship. He blows a mocking goodbye kiss to WWE's real-life owner, Vince McMahon, who is sitting right at ringside. And he literally escapes through the crowd, vanishing into the Chicago night with the physical championship belt.
To fully grasp why this is widely considered one of the greatest pieces of performance art of the 21st century, we have to look at two deeply guarded industry concepts: kayfabe and the shoot.
I know kayfabe used to be a sacred rule.
It was the bedrock of the entire business. Kayfabe is the strict presentation of the staged performance as unscripted, legitimate reality. For decades, promoters and wrestlers protected this illusion with their lives. Villains and heroes wouldn't be seen eating at the same restaurant. They wanted you to believe the blood feuds were entirely real.
Wow, that's dedication.
Right. And a shoot, conversely, is a terrifying moment when reality unexpectedly bleeds into the fiction. It's when a wrestler goes off script, stops cooperating, and real-life tensions boil over on live television.
So a shoot is a massive liability. It's like the actors throwing away the script mid-scene.
Exactly. But what's fascinating here is the evolution of that liability into a weapon, known as the work shoot.
A work shoot.
Yes. A work shoot is a heavily engineered phenomenon where a wrestler seemingly goes rogue and reveals actual backstage politics or real-life grievances, but they are doing so with the secret blessing of the promotion. It is meticulously designed to make a savvy audience feel like they are witnessing a genuine, unscripted corporate rebellion.
Here's where it gets really interesting. This entire concept is permanently tied to a phrase Punk himself popularized during this feud, right? The pipe bomb.
Yes. In the weeks leading up to the match, Punk sat down on the stage with a live microphone and delivered a monologue that shattered every taboo in the company. He openly discussed his expiring contract, he name-dropped rival promotions that legally shouldn't be acknowledged, and he ruthlessly criticized the actual executives signing his paychecks.
Just airing all the dirty laundry.
Exactly. He called the speech a pipe bomb because of how much structural damage it did to the illusion of the show.
He totally weaponized the internet rumors. The fans were reading online that his contract was up, so they were already primed for chaos. When he delivered that pipe bomb, he blurred the lines between his fictional television character and his genuine, real-life frustrations so perfectly that nobody, not the fans in the arena, not the people watching at home, nobody knew what was scripted and what was a legitimate threat to the company's intellectual property.
And that is the ultimate magic trick. In a cynical era where every single person watching knows the matches are predetermined, Punk figured out how to inject genuine, unpredictable danger back into the performance. When he ran out of the building with the championship, it didn't feel like a standard wrestling angle. It felt like a live hostage situation. He hadn't just beaten John Cena, he had hijacked a billion-dollar corporation's top prize.
It's just a masterclass in audience manipulation. Looking back at this entire list, it's wild how calculated the emotional journey actually is. For everyone listening, we've basically seen how professional wrestling utilizes specific calculated mechanics to elevate fake fighting into high-stakes, compelling drama. We started by seeing how an expected angle completely deflates a crowd. Then we saw how a well-timed double turn can weaponize empathy, instantly converting a hero's pain into heat for a new villain.
And we looked at how a clean finish proved undeniable competence, allowing a performer to step up as a true main eventer. And then how tapping into a hometown crowd getting over elevates that competence into something almost spiritual.
Ending with the ultimate sleight of hand, the work shoot. Shattering the fourth wall to make a scripted fight feel like a terrifyingly real corporate heist. It really makes you reconsider how we consume all forms of entertainment today.
It does. And, there is a final philosophical concept tucked into the terminology that I want to leave you, the listener, to mull over. It revolves around three specific labels: the mark, the smark, and the dirt sheet.
Break those down for us really quick.
Historically, a mark is a fan who earnestly believes the illusion of kayfabe. They think the punches are real and the hatred is genuine. A smark, or a smart mark, is a fan who possesses insider knowledge of the business. They know how the tricks are done, and they usually get this knowledge from reading dirt sheets, which are insider newsletters or internet forums that leak real-life contract disputes, backstage politics, and upcoming storylines.
Which is exactly how the fans knew Punk's contract was expiring before the pipe bomb even happened. The dirt sheets primed the pump for the work shoot.
Precisely. And it raises a profound question for anyone who consumes modern media. We live in an internet age of unprecedented access. We know all the behind-the-scenes dirt across all media. We know about chaotic movie reshoots. We know about actor salary disputes. We track flight logs to see which athlete is signing with which team.
We know everything.
Right. So the question is, do we actually enjoy the show more because we possess the insider knowledge to appreciate the complex craftsmanship of the work? Or, by constantly seeking out exactly how the sausage is made, have we permanently lost the pure childlike magic of kayfabe?
Wow, that is a phenomenal question. Are we too smart for our own good? Or has our capacity to appreciate storytelling just evolved into something more complex? It's definitely something to chew on the next time you're analyzing a movie trailer or watching your favorite sport. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. Keep questioning the mechanics behind the media you love. Because remember, even when the scoreboard is completely fabricated, someone, somewhere, is always keeping score. Catch you next time.